Nope, just that's my volume. I turned my volume up for you. So there we go.
You know, I'm very soft-spoken.
You are very soft spoken. Lottie,
Well, let's
freaking
get started.
Dottie.
We're already
I'm already
recording.
started. Yeah, I
What's
know.
going on?
You
Tell me
know, a
about
little
your
bit of
day. And
it's been so long since we've talked
I know, you know why? Because of the COVID.
because of the COVID.
Clink.
Tink. Speaking
Oh,
of the COVID, I don't think you and I have actually spoken since, well, I know you and I have, but on the podcast. I
yes.
don't think you and I have spoken since we were supposed to go to Disney, have we?
Correct. We
Yeah,
have not on the air, I don't think. No.
not on the air. No.
No.
So we didn't go to Disney.
I knew that.
Yeah,
I
I know.
knew
Oh,
it.
look at that
Listeners,
mess behind
viewers,
me.
I knew that.
I dumped all my stuff out of my bag and I just left it in the middle there because I was in a hurry. And then of course I'm on
Oh,
video and
wait, do I
normally
see?
I'm standing.
Are those Playboys and what else is in
No, no, actually what you're seeing back there is a
there?
a a portable dog bowl, a first aid kit, 2 flashlights, survival blanket, survival seeds, a portable bag. I know that's counterintuitive, but a portable bag, a poncho, and Band-Aids, and some medical tape. Oh,
That's
and
kind of a
2 glow sticks.
sounds like a go bag.
It was a go bag. It was
Oh,
part of a go bag.
okay.
I had converted one of my well, it's this bag right here.
I
Oh, now it's stuck. Never mind.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed you have a go bag.
I have a couple of them. I
I
had
have
2 of them actually.
2 of them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of them still packed, and it's actually so one of them is actually my go bag for the car,
Ah,
but it's more designed it's a backpack, it's like backpacking
yeah,
backpack, and I actually use it for camping as well, but when I
yeah.
use it as a go bag, it sits in my trunk, and it has a sleeping bag in it, it has, everything that I would need to be able to walk home if I needed to from somewhere.
Mhm. I have several things in mind, some of
Yeah.
which I'm happy to talk about, some of which I
Yeah, some
probably
of
won't.
exactly. I left a few things out.
Yeah, but, I bought a tent for it.
Really?
Yeah, it's small, I mean, it's a two-person, so I think
Sure.
there are 2 of them in the 2 bags. But yeah, a two-person tent just because
Nice.
you
Why
just don't
not?
know.
They're not expensive.
No, well, these were
Of
more than
course.
I would but see, I'm not a camping guy, so anything was expensive to me.
Sure.
I mean, mine had, SpongeBob SquarePants on it, but it
Oh,
was a
those
little more
no,
than
so
I
now you're
planned to
talking about the
spend.
pricey ones.
So, anyway, but it was, yeah, I thought, you know what? It kinda makes sense if you're gonna do that. But and for all those who say, "Oh, really? Okay, you guys are all paranoid and
Yes.
preppers," and not not necessarily, but what I will say, how bad would things have to be for you to leave your house? And
Well, and that's a really good point.
yeah,
So a couple of different things. One of the reasons that I know people have go bags is because of where they live. So if you are leaving the house, it's because you have to leave the house. It's
well,
an
and
earthquake
so
bag or
now in Florida, that could be a hurricane
hurricane, exactly.
evac or something like that,
Yep.
so,
And
yep.
and it's because you're not going to have power. No one's going to have power. So there's a reason that you have a go bag. It's to get
Right,
out quick.
yep, yep,
For me, my go bag was less about one of them is less about being able to take it and go. It's about
sure,
having it. And it's small. I mean,
yeah.
let me unstuck it. So I mean this was my small go bag.
Oh, that is tiny, but that's a
Yeah.
car version, right?
No, this is the one I keep
Oh,
at house in
that's
the
the other
house.
one. Got it.
Yeah, so this is but the it's not necessarily a go bag, it's a get quick bag
Right,
if you need it for emergency
right,
supplies and
right.
whatever you need while you're home. It's not necessarily to go anywhere.
Yes.
This also, the way this works, I don't you can't really see it on here. This is a zipper. So it
Oh, okay.
zips onto my big bag.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Alright,
It's
interesting.
designed for hiking, but that's
Mhm.
that's what you can use it. It's called a day pack. And then my
Mhm.
big bag is where I have everything else. And that's not a go bag for leaving home. That's a go bag for the trunk of the car so I can get home.
Yeah, yeah.
So that
That's
that's at least my definition. And a lot of
yeah,
people have different reasons for different go
for
bags. Some
sure.
people are
Yep.
very paranoid.
Yes. Yes.
and some people aren't, you know? But there's a
And
lot to be paranoid about.
I'm kind of on the border on some things.
Mhm.
So, for example, we have some of the MRE meals,
Mhm. Mhm.
and it's not because I think, oh, they're 25-year meals. I don't know. I think each one was 100 and change,
Yeah.
and we've got 2 boxes of them, and they're
Right.
fine. They're in plastic little tub things, and they're ready to grab if we need to grab them. It's not like I think I mean, I would be delighted. I look at it like life insurance. I
Yeah.
hope I never have to use it, but it's
But
good
it's
to have
there.
it.
Exactly. Yeah,
So,
we used our last ones because we buy the ones that we can use for camping too. So
yeah,
they're
yeah.
not regular
Well,
MREs, but
no,
they're
right,
the
right.
freeze-dried food,
Mhm.
because they last for 25 years too. Why
They
not?
do.
So I
Yep.
do need to order some more, but, with what's going on right now, it's not a bad idea to have them around. They are talking about the possibility of food shortages.
Yeah. You just
It's a
never
and
know.
you never know, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, come on, that's never gonna happen," and you know what? It probably won't, but wouldn't
Mhm.
you rather have a security blanket just in case, just like insurance?
For sure. And I think it was, oh my gosh, and I'm gonna have to think this through because I think it was, uh, um, who's the famous martial artist of all time?
Bruce Lee?
Bruce Lee, and his son was Jet.
Jason.
Jason Jet. Who's Jet? Jet Li.
Jet Li is it's spelled differently, it's Li. Jet Li is another
Oh,
actor, karate
but also a
person.
martial artist. Okay.
Yes. Mhm.
So Bruce Lee, and I'm not sure who it was. It was one of the Lees. I'm not sure which distinction, but was asked about uh, being uh, being a trained warrior, essentially.
Mhm.
And we may have mentioned this before, but he said, "I'd rather be a warrior who." Hold on, I gotta say it
I know
right
what you're
because
trying
it
to
doesn't
say,
make any
yeah.
sense. I'd rather be a warrior who works on a garden than a gardener who needs to go to war.
Yes.
And
Yeah, and that was
it's
Bruce Lee.
wow, it's just amazing when you think about it, but that's what makes
Yep,
sense. I
absolutely.
well,
100%.
I'll come get around to it someday,
Yeah,
learning how to not die if something stupid happens. So
right, right.
anyway, yeah.
And some of those so going back to the meals, I have been looking up ways to make those them myself. So I was
Oh,
thinking about getting uh, what do they call
yeah,
it? Not a dehydrator.
dehydrator. We had
Yeah.
one for a while and never used it, and probably
Yep.
should. Actually, I did once. I was trying to do like a beef jerky-ish type
Yeah.
thing using brisket, and, I ate all the brisket because it was delicious.
Gonna
Damn
have to
it.
talk about brisket here in a second, but go on.
Oh, good. Well, I mean, we only used it just that one time, and it was kind of uh, it was just kind of a long process, and, hey,
It's a
they
long
sell that
process.
stuff at the stores.
Right, but it takes practice too.
For sure. Yeah.
Craig makes a lot of deer jerky, and so he
Oh, okay.
uses his dehydrator all the time.
Yeah, and I bet Craig does it well if I were a betting
Yeah, oh
man.
yeah, but
Yeah.
his first few batches were not very good. So, like anything, it takes practice,
Yeah, it
and
does.
that's the next step. I have a feeling I probably wouldn't do it myself,
Mm.
if I had it here, but it's just a nice thought to have because I
Yeah.
can't go out and buy it. But we were just putting together our Costco order and doing just going ahead and getting a lot of dried stuff
Mhm.
just in case.
Mm.
Not expecting anything to happen, but
How far are you from Costco?
oh,
About.
less than 10 miles.
Oh, so not that far. Okay.
No.
So um, how often do you? Because for
We
us,
try
it's a stock up
It
trip,
is a
sort
stock up.
of,
Yep,
if we
yep.
do that.
We always expect to spend a lot of freaking money.
And we
Um,
do.
yeah, we do. Oh god. This bill's already up to $400
Well,
and
we can't get out of there for less than 3. I'm
yeah,
serious. We've tried and
yeah.
can't do it.
We had this debate once because of when we were all in lockdown, we kept getting Costco orders. We'd actually order it and have it delivered.
Mhm.
And you have to pay the destination fee and then you have to tip, right?
Oh,
So
sure.
the price always seemed to go up and up and up. And then the very first time we went back in person, we're like, "Oh, this will be great. We'll get the
It's
same stuff
so
and it'll
cheap.
be cheaper." Nope, it was $100 more.
That's
'Cause you're
awesome.
walking around going, "Oh, I definitely need to stock up on
I
that.
need that.
I
Yeah.
need that."
The old George Carlin line, "Oh, what's this? Canned cans. I'll take some."
Exactly. That's exactly it.
And he
So,
used to say it, he set it up, just a quick he set it up, when Carlin was telling that joke piece of it. He said, "You know, people always say if you wanna save money, never go to the grocery store when you're hungry." He said, "I look at it the other way. I like to get it all done and really knock it out. So I go like 3 hours, excuse me, 3 days without eating, and then I smoke 4 joints and go shopping."
yes,
He said,
yes.
"You'll buy everything.
That
Canned cans."
okay, so you know how I really don't pick on my wife for a lot of things. She's a
You
wonderful woman,
better
and we have
not.
but I'm going to. Um, the
I
the
saw that
interesting
coming.
thing is, yeah, the interesting thing is when she goes shopping, she goes and granted, she's really good at shopping. She is really good. She can get out of the store for
Mm.
less than $200,
But
where
is she
when
a
I
good plan
go,
does she plan well and all that too?
that's the
That's what I
problem.
guessed. Okay,
Yep,
sorry. I
yep,
didn't mean to
because
spoil your
she
story.
will get the basics,
Mhm.
which we need, but then she'll get everything home and go, "I just went shopping and there's nothing to eat." But of course, I'm one of those people that I can look at everything and go, "I can make a meal out of this, 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 and this," but
Mhm.
I plan the meals out, so when I'm shopping, I'm like, "Okay, this meat is gonna go with this side dish," and I've got 3 or 4 days planned out ahead. So my shopping is always more expensive,
Yeah.
but I always have meals planned.
But you're a planner, like, see, and I was giving her credit for being the planner, but she's just being, she's being more careful with the amounts
Yes,
of money. Sure,
correct. Yep.
I'm a combination of you two, in that I will plan and get the main stuff for the meals. You know, the meats, the for me, the meats, not so much for Jen. Uh, she gets the spinach, and that's
Uh-huh.
the tofu. I'm just kidding. But that's I want to have steaks and I want to have chicken and we got to have the
Yeah, the
building blocks for
protein and
me.
the yep,
Start
exactly.
with the proteins.
So,
But
uh
I also buy a bunch of stuff that I know I'm going to want to eat. I'm going to get 2 of these because I want to eat one when I get home.
uh-huh.
So we always have something that if I wanted to eat right away, I could do some smoked oysters or something like that because I purposely bought them for that.
Yeah. No, I so with the and it's interesting that you say that because by the proteins, by what goes with it, stuff like that. The only reason I honestly plan
Mm,
is for my family, because if I didn't have my family around, if I didn't I snack all the time.
me too.
That's how I eat. So I
Yes.
don't meal plan. So for me, shopping is really cheap because I'm only getting this little thing, this little thing, this little thing.
Compared to what we'd spend at Culver's.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. Yep.
Oh, that's
Um
funny.
Yeah, so anyway, that's our shopping experience, but anyway, the Costco, I always look forward to going to Costco because it's so much fun, but they do have some really good stuff that you can buy in bulk, and of course, you just gotta go for the staples. When it comes to that, what can you survive on for a certain period of time?
Yeah,
Your rice, your pastas,
sure.
get flour,
Mm, mhm.
stuff like that,
But
so
you don't buy those things because, it's, "Well, I'm gonna use this much flour, so I better get a
right.
10-pound
No.
pa." I mean,
I
you
have a
just have
I
that
have a
stuff on hand.
I have a
Right, yeah.
35-pound bag of flour in the cabinet right now. But when it's there, I actually use it. It's crazy. But going back to why we even got on this
Yes.
topic, because we were talking about Disney.
Yeah.
And so I was down in Orlando for a conference the week before Disney, and we planned it specifically because of that. So why not? Sorry, bosses who I know listen, but why not? If I'm going to be down there anyway, let take away one plane ticket.
Some
You
of the
know,
bosses live there,
some of the
so
bosses
they
live
get
there.
it. Totally
Exactly,
get
but
it.
and in reality, the plane ticket was cheaper if I stayed 2 weeks than it was when I stayed 1 week. So I saved them money in essence. So anyway, I was going to take the following week off, but I'm at this conference and my wife texts me, "Bad news, I tested positive for COVID." Now, my wife has had COVID, has been vaccinated. She does, and I mean, this woman is so much better than I am, and I travel a lot, wearing her mask and wiping her hands and doing all of that. She is, I mean, she is almost manic about it. I
Mm,
mean, she does everything right, and she got it.
hmm,
It wasn't serious. It wasn't, and she didn't really get sick. The reason she even got checked out is because she had 2 days where she felt like she had a hangover,
hmm,
and she's like, I didn't even drink anything, so why would I have a hangover?
mhm.
And then she just got tested for the hell of it, and turns out she was positive for COVID.
And so let's talk about the tests because the tests are, uh, let's just say, at least a little inconsistent in
Yeah.
several
Well, it
cases.
depends on which ones you're talking about, but yes.
Well, yes, there are several. Well, in fact, there's one now, the CPQ. I work in
That's the
acronyms
one
all
she
day
had.
long.
That's the
I
one she
have
had.
no idea. Yeah.
Yep,
So that one supposedly is more accurate, but
correct.
you know what? This has been a fluid situation throughout it. This
Mhm.
stuff keeps changing all the time.
Yeah,
If you get vaccinated, you'll have herd immunity eventually. That's why we want everyone to be vaccinated. And then what happens?
yeah.
Oh, you can still
So,
get COVID and you
we
can
we
still
had
transmit it to someone else?
yeah, we had conversations about all of this beforehand,
I
and
know. I'm sorry.
over them. No, 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 because, all the things that have changed for so long.
Mhm,
The interesting thing, my nervousness back then was about getting it because I didn't, what is it gonna do, blah, blah, blah. Now my nervousness, my anxiety about getting it isn't about the disease or the virus itself
mhm,
because I'm vaccinated.
mhm,
I know it's not gonna be more than really a cold, at least I'm
mhm,
hoping. There's a very good chance that it's not gonna be much more than a cold.
mhm.
And but the problem is now there's such a, um, not an aura about it. There's a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like aura. It's like on the tip of my tongue.
Go like this.
Did you see it?
I did. It was blurry though.
It was blurry. I was moving too fast. My tongue is like a
No.
lizard,
Just wow.
just like a
Leaving it
lizard.
alone. Leaving it alone.
Uh,
It's too easy.
yeah, there's a whole other podcast about that sort of thing.
Yeah, but there
Anywho,
yeah, there is kind of a stigma
stigma. That's what I was looking for.
around
The
it. You're
stigma
welcome.
around it.
No.
And so, if I were to get it, I know it's not going to be a big deal. But I'll have to stay home for 10 days. And that, not that we have a problem with that because we're lucky enough to have jobs where we can actually still work from home and it's
True.
not going to be a big issue. And
Yep.
even if I have to stay in my room for 10 days like Jen did,
Mhm.
my our bedroom is like an apartment without the stove.
Mm,
We've got my office so that I can come up and work, and I've got a bed, and I got my computer can be a TV.
mhm,
I got a TV up in my office. It's not a big deal. But the problem is we travel for a living,
mhm,
and it makes it very, very difficult because now you either have to backtrack and tell people that you've had it,
mhm,
or you have to cancel all the meetings that you've got going,
mhm.
for and it creates such a problem when it comes to all of this, which is why we're talking about. I know it's not directly correlated, but a lot of the reasons they're talking about food shortages and things like that is not directly related to what's going on, but it's directly related to what's going on and has been going on for 2 years that's causing this backup with everything. All the ships sitting in the harbor, not being able
Yeah.
to unload and blah, blah,
It's the
blah, blah,
food
blah, blah,
chain.
blah.
You're right.
It's the food chain. Exactly. And that's what's disrupted right now. It's not that we can't get the stuff, we can't grow the stuff, that can't, blah, blah, blah. But it is what it is.
It's very much that. It's the delivery process and it's everything that goes along with it. Now, some of it, yeah, I don't know. And you wonder, is there some that's manufactured? Is there some that feeds an election cycle? Is there, and it's sad to have to say that stuff, but I think you got to say that stuff. You have to
Right.
admit that there's some chance of that happening, and it's really sad. What and the other thing to look at is the booster shots now.
Yeah.
My mother, who's we've talked about mom, she's 92 and thank God in good health and has her moments and so on as you would expect at 92, but she has had the both shots as you would recommend for somebody of her age and she had really no side effects whatsoever. Now they're saying you need a booster.
Yeah.
And so is that going to go
Well,
on
it probably will because I look
forever?
at it like this is just a new variation of the flu shot. And in fact, I think I read somewhere that they're actually starting to mix the COVID into the flu shots for the future, or one of the
Mm.
manufacturers are. And I mean, okay, that's fine. I'm perfectly cool with that. That's if
So,
that's the case, then moving forward,
well,
that's what we'll do.
and the thing you and I have talked about, uh, among many other things, is is the politicization of all of this.
Yes, yes.
And that's the
That's
thing
where
I
we
have
run
the
into
biggest trouble
trouble.
with. For example, um, the you heard about the FDA approval, right?
Yep.
And so the drug is now they're FDA approved,
Wow, calm
and
down. It's okay.
I was scratching my arm and I
This is what
accidentally
happens when you move to Florida.
we'll talk about that too. Um, do you know that the one that's FDA approved
Which is the one I had.
is not that's
It's the
not
l
true
it's
because
the
it's
least
never been
effective.
available in the US. It's available only in Italy. It's the Italian version,
Wait a
and it's
second,
never been given in the US.
but the FDA is approved it. Be
Yes, but it's never been administered here.
but the FDA also approved Pfizer.
Oh, they don't approve Pfizer. They approve that one singular dose that was created. It's I don't have it in front of me, but I can find it. They did not approve single-handedly all of the Pfizer. That's not true. Look into it. They approved
I'm skeptical.
good. One that was, and this is just my understanding. I'm not a doctor. I play one on
You
podcasts,
do, and you do such a good job.
but I would
You're so
honestly
believable.
no more than 8 years away from being a doctor. So keep that in mind.
It's 2 years closer than me.
But that's my understanding that it was an Italian version, and that's the only one the FDA approved, and it's never been available in the US.
Hmm,
Now, if that's true, and I will leave it at that, if that's true, that's BS.
that is BS. That is.
If it's not true, then where I heard it, that's BS that they would make that crap up.
Which
So,
one is more likely, honestly, though? In
uh,
this day and
please
age
don't make me answer that.
in this day and age, which one is the most likely?
That is probably the most astute question that's ever been asked on this particular podcast.
Well, that's not a high bar to,
Well, I didn't
reach
say it.
there,
Yeah,
John.
it was not a high bar exactly, but it's a really good question. So, anyway, things to think about and things to look into. So maybe if I may be so
Let's
bold as to assign you with something,
Well, I was gonna
check
sign
into
some
that,
of
would you?
our listeners, and then they can get back to us, and they can do that by
Well,
heading
they're not
to
going to tune in next week if they know that, well, Nick might not even do
well,
the research. If you
they
say, even if you're lying and say, I will do the research, get
hey,
back here next week and
here's
I'll give
here's
you
the
the
thing.
answer.
Here's the thing. I promise that John and I won't record until next week. So, if you have the answer,
You have time.
please head up to PoddiMouths.com. He
Still
loves
going
it.
viral. It's
It
still
is
going
still going
viral.
viral. Well, I say it all the time now. I'm in a dealer meeting and I'm like, you go up to your website, dealer.com.
And do they say, where did you hear that? And you
I
say, well,
say, "It's a great
potty mouths,
podcast, you should really look it up." I
potty
know it I mean,
mouths.
it's you probably have to listen to it every 4th time to get really good information, the rest of it, they're just drunk, but
Oh, that's really good.
yeah. But
That's
head up to
well done, sir.
poddymouths.com and let
Yes,
us know. Let us
please
know what
do.
you find out. Do the research for us so we can have an educated, conversation. That
Do
was
the
that
research
was
for us.
yeah,
Let me interpret what Nick's actually saying, viewers. Do the research for us so we don't have to.
that's right. So, John, I have a question that is completely off topic.
Okay, good.
You
This will
have
be a
the
first
exact
for
same
Potty Mouth.
chair. No, your
I
chair,
know.
except yours is red and mine is blue,
Mine is
or yours is
black.
black. It's just black, but it's the
Everything's
exact same
black.
chair.
It is
It's
the
the exact
exact
sa
same chair.
Wow,
And
we make too much money on this podcast.
no, I was on sale where I bought mine.
Mine was too. Shh.
and you said you have to get certain staples. I went to Staples,
That's where
ding,
I got
and
this
you
one.
that's so funny. When did you get it?
When or what?
When?
When? Probably a month ago.
Yesterday, and Lisa put it together for me. That's
Wow.
how awesome my
Jen would
wife is.
not put it together for me. She just
Well
looked at me and laughed.
well, I dare say that Jen's
I
got it
deserve
going
it.
on, so
I
but
did
anyway, it's
not
very comfortable,
argue it. It is very comfortable.
and
So that's why,
this
because normally, folks, for those of you who aren't actually watching, thank God, because you'd see the mess behind me, which I really do apologize for, because my office is usually not this messy. I usually stand during the podcasts.
often you
So
do.
often because I have a standing desk. So but today I decided to sit, mainly because I was too lazy and falling behind, so I didn't hit the button to raise my desk up. And
I have a standing rib roast.
yeah, nice,
Yeah,
nice. I'm making me
delicious.
hungry. Tonight's a leftovers night, so I've
Oh, is
had
it
a
leftovers tonight? You know what we're having?
hmm,
One of my new favorites. We had
pizza.
I like pizza, but one of my new favorites because we had the first round of it at the Ritz-Carlton in Sarasota, Florida.
Show off.
No, I used points. I didn't pay for it. I can't afford the Ritz,
Still show
but
off.
I had Marriott points,
Nice.
and they were serving shrimp and grits. It is
Have you
one
never
of
had
my
shrimp and grits before?
not like this.
Okay.
It was amazing,
Hmm.
and their chef talked to us about it and what they blah, blah, blah. It was amazing. Lisa has learned to replicate it, and
Oh,
hers,
she's
dare I
my
say, rivals
she
that
is not my new
of
best
the
friend,
Ritz-Carlton.
but she will be Jen's new best friend because that is one of Jen's favorite dishes.
Shrimp and grits. But it has, Jen's not gonna like this. It's got, sausage in it as well,
She loves sausage.
but she's a vegetarian,
No, she's not.
sort of.
She's a vegetarian wannabe. So this is we've
Which makes me
discussed
like her
this.
even more.
How many times do we have to discuss this, John?
Well, I
Probably a
thought
couple more times because it is our podcast. Um,
I
we've talked
thought
about this
she
before.
was like
We
mostly
all of us,
yeah.
with the exception maybe of Peyton, well, and obviously Whitney now, but between the two of us, all of
Mhm.
us, Jen and I are what we consider mostly plant-based, or we have a mostly plant-based diet, meaning
Okay.
we eat as much plant-based stuff as we can, but we'll throw meat in there whenever we want to. So, and that also kind of throws a little wrench in it because
Whatever we want.
I am experimenting with the keto diet, which there's a lot more meat in a keto diet than
There is
there
meat
isn't
and fat. Good
meat and
fat.
fat. So I have been eating a lot more meat than I normally do. But I can see it right here. Can you see that? Yes. Yeah. So I
You'll
might have to
you
stop that.
you No, you don't see the meat doesn't go here.
But it has because I've gained 10 pounds.
You know where the meat goes? In the front. Anyway, the leave that alone.
Cheers.
So should we see what we have? What do you have?
Oh, I'm having a Manhattan. Why would I have anything different? I'm out of dry vermouth. So, and I know you like yours very, very, very like bone dry. I do
Mm.
like a little vermouth in my
Yeah,
martini. So
I don't mind it.
I had a hankering for a martini, but since I'm out of vermouth, I didn't make that. I went for a
You should have
Manhattan.
come over. I have some here.
I'll be right there.
Yeah, come on.
Mhm.
It won't take you that long.
No, not at all.
But we'll need to get it.
I drove it recently
Yeah.
in
So
a
did I.
Mustang.
So did I.
Yeah, but at least you were in a nice cushy truck.
I
I
was
was
in
in
a
a
big truck.
Mustang.
Yeah. But I will say going through Nashville, did we talk about this? It
No.
was, oh my gosh, it was torrential rain.
Oh yeah, we did talk about
And
that. I
I'm in
thought you were gonna talk
Florida,
about the traffic. I know.
and I'm saying it's torrential rain.
Yeah. It's been wet here lately.
Wow. Hydroplaning. I have not hydroplaned on an interstate in
So
a long
what that
time.
tells me that if you're hydroplaning, that
Yep.
means your dealer screwed you and didn't put new tires on the truck.
Brand new tires.
Bullshit.
Bra- I swear to you, A, he's a friend I've known for 35, 40 years.
Doesn't mean it won't screw you. My
He
best friend
wouldn't.
screws me all the
Well,
time.
I will say this, he put tiger paws on one of my vehicles I bought from him. That he will never do again,
I
because
don't even know what
I
that is.
told him not to. But I got some nice, Oh, let me think. Starts with an H. Hankook
Oh,
tires, and I like Hankook. I've had them on
yeah.
several vehicles. They're terrific tires, but
Yeah.
they're probably a little more road profile,
Okay.
and so they may not channel the water as well as like a rain
Mm.
tire or whatever.
Yeah, well, you're moving
Regardless,
to Florida,
it
so it doesn't
was
really matter, does it?
I saw a lot of people who were doing the same thing. Unfortunately, coming out of, Nashville, it was, I mean, 4 lanes, 5 lanes, 6 lanes, I don't even know, but there were a whole bunch of people who were hydroplaning. So,
Wow.
anyway, but it wasn't because the roads are bad, it's because it was raining 2 inches an hour, I would imagine, as we drove through. So, anyway,
Wow.
it
Yeah,
was
and
yeah,
it like I said,
amazing.
it's been wet here lately. It just today is it's the second day since it stopped raining and it's still outside is still like I wouldn't go mow my lawn today because it's still
Yeah,
too wet, but
yeah, yeah.
it's been wet.
I would not mow mine today because I don't have a mower.
Or a
But
lawn.
I have a
Uh
friend who is going to mow it for us, so,
Nice, very
yeah.
nice. Also along those lines, I thought you were gonna say not rain-wise, but, so much has changed since the last time you've been in Nashville. The traffic just sucks, which it does because,
It is
it's
crazy. But you
Nashville.
know how I changed that impression?
Hmm.
I drove the next day through Atlanta.
Ah, yes. Well, yeah. I drove through Atlanta on the way home and that was there was a time I lived in Atlanta for a couple of years, and there
Mhm.
was a time where I had to readjust how I drove when I got there and readjust when I left because I would be going 90 down the freeway
Yeah,
and cops would be passing me.
yeah. Welcome to I-75 in Southwest Florida.
Yeah.
Same thing.
So, yeah,
Same
no,
thing.
I was yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. Yes.
I did not have that experience when I was driving through this time.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it was but granted, it was early-ish in the morning,
See, that
but
to me is the key to especially any big city where and I've been we have been blessed with jobs that allow us to kind of choose our travel times
mhm,
and when we go through a city or whatever. And I just will not go through it rush hour or any of those times when
right.
potentially you're going to have that. And I'd rather go. I would rather. I used to leave the house at 3 in the morning to get to Detroit, but I had from Wisconsin, and I had to be downtown Chicago in the loop by 5 a.m. If I was there 15 minutes later, it would
Oh,
totally
hell,
change the
yeah.
trip.
Isn't
It
that amazing? So St. Louis was a lot like that too.
right
10
back
minutes.
in the day. Not as much
No,
traffic in St. Louis in the last.
no, I'm talking about the early 2000s.
Yeah, yeah.
Even back then, I mean, traffic okay, in relative terms. So when we're talking traffic in St. Louis, we're not talking about traffic in LA or New
Oh
York or
gosh, no,
Chicago.
no, no,
But
or
but
Houston, or yeah.
when you're used to a certain thing,
Mhm.
traffic to the person living
It's a
there
great,
is gonna be a lot
really good
different.
point. Really good
And
point.
so when I was living there and I spent, the 5 years there the first time and then 4.5 years the second time. So I
Mhm,
lived in there for a pretty good amount of time.
mhm.
But there would be a point where literally the traffic would change within a 10-minute time period. And it
Oh,
was every day. Like
wow.
if you were running 5 minutes late, you would be 20 minutes late to work.
Could you so you could essentially, as you're saying, set your watch by it.
Yes. 100%. I don't know if it's that way
Interesting.
this now,
No, and
but there are a lot of different things
but yeah, I think
because
that's
of
a really
COVID.
interesting talk track too, because I think that would be I have no idea what the hell you're doing, but
I
you're
said
smiling.
because of COVID.
Oh, damn it. Didn't hear it because I was talking over you. Okay, thank goodness because
Now I'm down to really small sips so I don't finish it right away. It tastes really
so
good, guys.
either we have to take a hey, let's take an intermission on Potty Mouse, or we have to hurry up and finish. I think the cultural change has really made it obviously because of the C word.
Because of COVID.
Damn it. Mhm. Lisa should be proud because she actually started that. Um, eh, things have changed in terms of traffic flow, but it changed before the COVID thing in Chicago.
Mhm.
It was we used to talk about rush hour when people would go into the city to work and then come home at night. And there are just as many people, probably more now, that live in the city and travel to the suburbs to work and then come home at night.
Yeah.
and I don't know how prevalent that is anymore. We haven't lived there for years, but it's kind of changed the dynamic overall of the trek to work in the morning or at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well,
So I
yeah, it's changed in so many ways, and I mean that's a whole other topic that we could get
it
into because
is.
I actually had a very long conversation with the dealer about how uh, everything has changed specifically for those who commute because of what has happened with COVID and
Yeah.
the fact that people one for some reason have come up with, and that was his words, come up with, not earned more, but come up with more money and are buying a lot more people are buying cars. A lot
I
more people are buying cars.
Well, but okay, so that's a supply and demand thing, and again, a total
I
different
agree.
conversation, and
It can be,
and
but at
I
the same time, a lot of them are people that would normally commute using public transportation as well.
oh, well, that's changed. That I
Yeah.
see what you're saying, and
Yeah.
that is a valid point because when public transportation becomes unsafe, and
Yep.
it sort of, or at least that was the interpretation that it did,
Right.
with
Well, and
COVID.
that and exactly, and to your interpretation point too, because there are other things like let's use Volvo as the example. Volvo had that I don't know what they called it. I'm going to call it a timeshare.
Oh, right.
That lease. It wasn't a lease program because you weren't leasing the car, but you were paying a
What did they
membership, and you
call
were
that? Well,
I
it
don't
wasn't just
remember.
Volvo.
No, a lot of OEs did it, but Volvo was the big one. They were the one that started it,
Ride
and
sharing? Not
it was
ride
kind of
sharing.
like a no, it was drive sharing, basically drive sharing. It was you pay a fee every
Subscription
month,
service. That's
subscription
what it
service.
was.
There you go. Yep.
Yep.
But they're ending that because people were afraid of that as well, or
Yeah.
they weren't driving as much because they were working from home.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it was a good idea,
Mhm.
maybe. I don't even know. I'm borderline on the idea behind it, but I mean, it wasn't a bad idea.
It was expensive,
It was
and
expensive.
so there was one, and some of them were manufacturer driven, and some were driven by, outside companies who just
Right.
bought the cars and then they
Right.
would
Zipcar is a good
lease
example.
them or whatever. But it was not cheap, where you would
No,
have to spend,
but in
um
some cities, so New
yeah,
York, for example, when you buy a car, you don't drive it that much. It literally sits on the road and you drive
right.
it maybe twice a year.
Nah,
So
that's
that
true.
car becomes very expensive and
That's
you
true.
have to pay for that spot. Some people had to pay for that spot where it sat
Right?
or pay for parking. Or if you were able to park it on the street, which is a
Mhm.
big if you were able,
Yeah, big
you would
if.
have to move it every once in a while to across the
Mhm,
street. So,
mhm.
when they were cleaning the streets or cleaning
Sure.
the snow off, it becomes more expensive than
But one of the models was what drove some people to do was to take those cars that didn't get driven much, and then they would like lease them back to these programs where somebody else then
Yep.
could use that car for,
Right.
again, the ride sharing thing. But the
Like a VR
subscription
of
thing was a little different in that they were all pre-owned vehicles, but you could drive one for as long as you wanted. Some people would drive them for a week or 10 days and switch cars. You
right,
could switch up to X times a month, 5 times a
right.
month, let's say.
And the higher
But
you paid in the premiums, you could pick
but the
higher
one
level
I
cars as
looked
well.
at exactly was 1,100 a month.
Yeah.
Now, if I lease a really nice BMW, let's say, for example,
Mhm.
I
It's
don't
not gonna
think
be
I could get close
$1,100 a
to
month.
1,100 a month.
Right.
But their big thing was, well, if you're in that category, you drive a BMW for a week and a half, and then you drive a Jag, and then you
And then you
drive a
drive a Maserati.
Lexus, and then you
Yeah.
drive well, maybe a Maserati at the top level. So I'm not sure it was anything more than like a boutique program
I
from the
agree with you.
beginning, right?
I agree
Yeah,
with you.
yeah.
Well,
But
yes and no. I think there are some programs that were like Zipcar. I had mentioned Zipcar. They were much more affordable because
sure.
you're driving little shit boxes, as I like to call them, but they
Nice.
are. They are. They're little shit boxes.
Well, why didn't they call it that instead of zip car? Why don't they call it
I
shitbox?
think I think it was trademarked. I could be wrong. I don't
We
know.
we should look into starting a company called
Called shit
Shitboxes.
boxes. No, I think we'd have a problem with the FDA, not the FDA, the
The
CT. No,
FDA? You don't have to be
what?
on drugs to drive a
No, 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 not the
shitbox.
FDA. I'm thinking of the what's the communications
FCC
FTC,
or
FCC.
FTC. That's
That's the
tran
no, that's the insurance thing for flowers.
Oh my
No,
gosh.
that's
Yeah.
FTD. I don't know.
That's FTD. It's the flower place. They would not be happy about shit
They would
boxes.
not be happy
No,
about shit
because if you put
boxes.
your flowers in
Then
shit
again,
boxes
that could be another revenue
no, you
stream,
put your
especially
flowers
during
in shit
COVID.
boxes. These flowers are delightful.
Send. Send the very best.
When you're angry at your wife or ex-wife, the flowers are beautiful, but
Exactly.
they smell like shit.
Exactly. On that note, John,
That's
I think
terrible.
it's time
Sorry,
to wrap it
mom.
up. Sorry, mom.
Sorry.
You're a
Sorry.
long way away. She can't get to you as quickly,
Oh,
hit you.
she can call and email, and I'm still in trouble.
Oh,
Yeah.
now 90 years old and she's emailing.
Oh, yes,
I'm
she's
impressed.
it was and I know we gotta go. We do have to go.
Yeah, we do have to go.
It was a long road because this is and I love about her generation. They why would anybody do that? She says that often about hackers, about,
Yeah.
people who do the prank phone calls, about people whatever.
Yeah.
And she doesn't get that because her generation doesn't, and she's right, incidentally, but, but people do that because 'cause they're criminals, and
Right.
it's just it's sad.
Yes, it is.
But
Yes,
she's
it is.
learned to be callous and cold.
Well, that's really good. That's interesting. So there was a story that came out. I read it. First of all, I follow Mark Roper. It's Roper,
Roper,
whatever it
yeah,
is.
I
Yeah,
think
you
I
know
know
who
who
I'm
you're
talking
talking
about,
about.
the
Yeah.
MIT,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
maybe not
right.
MIT,
Right.
but the NASA guy, and he does all of these really cool things, and one of the things he
Yes, he
does
does
during the
with
holidays.
the boxes that people steal from the
Yes.
porches and stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I am a big fan of him, and I watch him when he does the boxes from
Yeah.
but this story was about something very similar, and during one of his last episodes, he was talking about with the box episodes, not one of his last episodes, but
Mhm.
one of the box episodes, he was talking about, um, being a friend of a guy who does, he pranks the spammers basically. So he's a hacker and he's able to he hacks into the cameras so he can actually see the scammers and stuff. And so I started following a few of these people that actually do that, where they'll
Yeah.
actually call the spam callers back and completely. This one chick did, she pretended to be a person, and then she ended up pretending to be Britney Spears at the end because she's a voice actor and can change her voice. And I mean, it was really convincing. And she had this guy going, and to the point where she's like, "I'm going to put you on hold because right now, I'm Britney Spears, and I have to get permission to use this on my prank show. So I'm going to put you on hold for one of the producers." And then she did the hold music and the hold. Please hold for blah 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 blah
Come
blah. We really
on.
and the guy hung on the call. And then she
That's
said at the
awesome.
end, and sorry, mama, ahead of time, she said, "This is blah, 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 blah. I'm just fucking with you." Click. It
That
was
seems
the greatest thing
but
I'd ever heard.
see, that seems like a nice end for some of those people because some deserve a whole lot
A
worse.
whole lot more.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely,
All right.
absolutely.
With that, wrap
With
us up,
that,
Big Nipper.
folks, head up to poddymouths.com. And please, you know what? I got an email today
Yes.
from our merch, the people that handle our merch store, and it
Yeah.
said, "Nick, you haven't sold much on your merch store in at least the last
Oh,
90 days.
that makes
Guys,
me sad.
please order some merch." Don't forget, I still have it set up that if you buy some of the stuff from the episode with Tyson Schaffner, that I will donate all the proceeds to Tyson's organization, which I
We
know he's
will.
been doing a big push. He's actually talking about doing a podcast as well.
Patched overalls. We need
Patched
to bring
overalls,
him
yeah.
back.
We should,
Yeah,
absolutely, especially
Tyson's a
if
great guy.
if he does another if he's serious about doing a podcast, I think that
Yeah.
would be a great thing for us to talk
Wouldn't
about.
it? That would be
Anyway,
terrific. Yeah.
please head up to poddymouths.com, head to our merch store, check out Patched Overalls because they are up on the website
They sure
as
are.
well as our previous host, which we didn't get to talk about, which was fantastic. I know we didn't talk about it in the last episode because
Mike and Bill.
Mike and Bill, we actually
We love
recorded
those guys.
the last episode before we recorded or
Yeah.
they recorded their
We
guest
did.
host appearance. So we weren't able to talk about it in the last episode. We'll probably talk about it in 3 episodes from now, but
We will.
you can
And
check out that
incessantly. We will talk about it
incessantly.
incessantly.
Incest what?
Stop.
No. No, never.
We will.
This podcast will go on forever.
No, that's not what I meant.
I know.
We're gonna be
Anyway,
70 years old. Wait, I'm not that far from that. Let's say
head up
80.
to wah,
80
wah,
years
wah,
old. Go up
dot
to wah, wah, wah.
poddymouths.com.
I'm gonna teach
Actually, by
Indy
that
to
point, we'll
do
probably be saying, "Hey, head up to our Google uh, Google My
universe.
Business page." No, Google My Business page.
No,
That's
it's
our only
well,
website.
we might do that, but we
That's a
might
whole other
definitely
episode.
invent Google Universe.
The
Googleverse.
Googleverse. The Googleverse.
Well, I think
The
Googleverse.
Gooverse. The
Yeah.
Gooverse. If you can't find what.com, go up to the Gooverse and look up Potty Mouths. We'll come up right away. Boom.
We'll be the
On
first
that
one.
note, we'll see you next week, guys.
See ya.